They say Ravenwell is cursed, but people say many things when fear is all they have. My name is Thomas Elridge. I'm a historian, or at least I was, before I received the letter. A sealed envelope, hand-delivered, no return address. The parchment inside bore only a few words. The truth is buried in Ravenwell. Come alone. Midnight, October 13th. The initials matched only one person I knew, Eleanor Wren, a woman long presumed dead. I hadn't spoken of Eleanor in over 20 years, not since the fire, not since she disappeared. We were students then, obsessed with folklore, history, and the forgotten corners of England's past. We followed legends too far, and when it all went wrong, Eleanor paid the price. I should have burned the letter, but I didn't. Instead, I packed a bag, loaded my camera, and drove north, back to the village that time forgot. Ravenwell isn't on any modern map. It lies somewhere between Wiltshire's rolling hills and a stretch of untamed woodland called the Grey Hollow. The road narrowed with every mile until tarmac gave way to gravel, and gravel gave way to mud. Trees thickened, boring inward like old sentinels. Rain began to fall, light at first, then harder, like the sky was grieving my return. My headlights flickered. My phone lost signal. At last, I saw it. The signpost, tilted, rotting, and carved with just one word, Ravenwell. The village was exactly as I remembered it. Cobblestone streets, ivy-covered cottages, a clock tower long since stopped ticking. Not a soul in sight. I parked by the inn. The Gallows Rest. The innkeeper greeted me without expression. A thin woman, hollow-eyed. She asked no questions, simply handed me a rusted key and said, "Room 4, no smoking, and don't leave the curtains open." Room 4 smelled of lavender, damp, and something faintly metallic. The wallpaper was red, not a warm red, more like dried blood. I unpacked, checked my voice recorder, set it on the nightstand. A storm brewed outside, and in the distance I could hear it. The church bell. Midnight. I took the letter, put on my coat, and walked to the chapel at the far end of the village. The chapel was in ruins. Ivy crawled over gravestones. The door swung open with a moan. Inside the air was colder than outside. Then I saw it, at the altar. A single candle, still burning. Beside it, another envelope. I approached cautiously. The flame didn't flicker. I opened the envelope. Inside, a black and white photograph, faded, water-stained. It showed a young Eleanor Wren standing beside a mirror. But not just any mirror. I knew it. I recognized the carvings. It was the Glass of Armitage, a relic that vanished in 1927, said to trap souls inside. Below the photo, a note. Find the mirror. Break the chain, or we are all lost. E. W. Then I heard it, the whisper, a breathless voice behind me. You shouldn't have come back. I turned, no one there, but the chapel mirror, cracked and covered in soot, now showed a silhouette. Mine, but not quite. The figure in the reflection turned to me, Slowly, its face was wrong, stretched, hollowed. Its mouth opened unnaturally wide and whispered, "Free us." I stumbled back. The candle blew out. Then everything went black. When I awoke, I was back in room 4, door locked. The clock read 3:33 a.m. I checked my camera. No footage. My recorder, blank. But there was something new in my bag. A journal, leather-bound, marked with a raven. It belonged to Eleanor. Dated entries from 1902 to 1908. Each page told of a secret order, the Archivists of Armitage, devoted to guarding cursed objects. She had joined them, and she had failed. The mirror was real, and it was still here. I needed help, but the villagers wouldn't speak to me. When I asked about Eleanor or the mirror, they simply turned away. Some crossed themselves, some shut their doors, but they watched me, always. I wandered the village, noticed strange details. No shops, no sounds, no signs of children. Each house had curtains drawn tight and the faint glow of candlelight behind them. I saw the same old woman 3 different times on opposite ends of the village, and yet she never walked past me. Always watching, always still. I visited the old orphanage, closed since 1964. Eleanor was once a ward there. Inside, mould crept over the wallpaper. Children's toys lay scattered in rooms thick with dust. In the attic, I found a mirror. But not the mirror. This one was cracked, covered in handprints, tiny ones, as if a dozen children had tried to escape. Then I heard them, the giggles, the sobs, whispers in the corners of the attic. I ran. The door wouldn't budge. The mirror shimmered, and the children began to crawl out. I barely escaped. Back at the inn, the villagers stared, silent, watching. That night, I dreamed of Eleanor. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth sewn shut. She held the real mirror, the Glass of Armitage, and mouthed 2 words, "Break it." But how? The journal spoke of the church crypt, hidden below, where the mirror was sealed away with a ritual that only the blood of the archivist could undo. My blood. I returned to the chapel, prized open the floorboards. Beneath, a stone stairway spiraled into darkness. Torches lined the walls unlit. As I descended, my flashlight flickered, shadows twisted, and something followed. The crypt opened like a mouth. Inside, the mirror stood, 10 feet tall, frame of black iron, glass like still water, and in the reflection they waited, the lost souls, Eleanor among them. I approached, my pulse pounding. They whispered, "Free us." I raised a rusted candle holder and struck the mirror. Crack, screams erupted from the glass. The crypt trembled. Crack. Eleanor reached out, her hand against the inside. Crack. Glass burst. Shards flew like knives. Light engulfed me. Then, darkness. But I wasn't dead. I awoke somewhere deeper. A room beneath the crypt, circular, carved in stone and salt. Glyphs glowed faintly along the walls, and in the center, a mirror, smaller, framed in silver, pristine. This was the true Glass of Armitage. Eleanor's voice echoed. One more strike, one more truth. In the reflection, I saw everything. The fire, the cover-up, the Archivists' betrayal. They sealed Eleanor in the mirror to stop her from revealing the truth, that the Order had turned to using cursed objects instead of protecting others from them. I was meant to be the next vessel. My blood, my face, my voice, reborn as the Order's puppet. But I had a choice. I lifted a shard of the broken black mirror. It cut my palm deep. Blood dripped onto the stone. The glyphs flared bright. The silver frame cracked. The voices screamed. The walls shook. A hand reached out, Eleanor's hand. I grabbed it, pulled. Light swallowed everything. Then, silence. I awoke in my car, outside Ravenwell, daylight. The village, gone. No ruins, no chapel, just forest. In my hand, the journal. On the seat beside me, a cracked piece of silver glass. And on the mirror's surface, Eleanor's voice, faint, forever etched. Thank you. But others still remain. 2 months later, I was invited to speak at a folklore symposium in Yorkshire. My presentation on the Archivists drew polite nods, skeptical laughter, and academic indifference. That night, in my hotel room, I noticed something odd. The bathroom mirror, brand new, polished chrome, had a single crack running through it, a crack I hadn't seen before. I leaned in. The crack began to spread. The lights flickered. In the glass, a shape began to emerge, blurry at first, then clearer. Not Eleanor, not myself. A child, pale, lips sewn shut. Behind her, dozens more. Then the lights died. When they returned, the mirror was whole again, except for the message scrawled across it in condensation. You opened the chain. I checked my bag. The journal was gone, and in its place, a new mirror shard, still warm. They say once you've seen behind the glass, it sees you forever. It had been 6 months since I destroyed the mirror in Almsgrave Hollow, since I dragged Eleanor's soul from that purgatory of shadows, since I returned to my life, or what remained of it. But something followed me. Not a thing, a presence. I'd feel it in reflections, not just in mirrors, but in windows, puddles, even polished steel, always just behind me, watching, waiting. Then came the dreams again. It started with the whisper, always the same voice. You opened the chain. Then came the visions, a monastery on fire, a child with no eyes, and a mirror that refused to crack. I turned to Professor Miriam Vale again. She had helped me once. Maybe she could help me again. She didn't answer her phone or emails. When I visited her home, the place had been stripped bare, gone. But she left one thing behind, her notes, scribbled in frantic handwriting. The chain wasn't just broken, it was past. There's another, the last vessel. The last vessel. I returned to the journal Eleanor left me. Its pages had changed, as if ink bled through dimensions, maps, names, coordinates, and one entry circled in red. The Ashmark facility. a disused research compound in the far north of England. Cold, forgotten, sealed for decades. The place wasn't on any modern records, but it was real. I packed my bag. Again. Ashmark stood on the edge of a frozen lake. Concrete buildings overgrown with moss and silence. Wind howled like voices across broken glass. Inside, the corridors were lined with lead and steel. Reinforced. Sealed. A place built not to protect from something getting in, but from something getting out. I found the inner sanctum beneath the facility, a vault. Behind it, a chamber with one wall entirely composed of mirror. Not a mirror, a window. And inside it, dozens of trapped souls, screaming, reaching, pressed against the surface. And one child, staring directly at me, his lips stitched shut, his eyes glowing white. A speaker crackled to life. "Mr. Elridge." The voice was Miriam. "If you're hearing this, I didn't make it. The mirror, it found another, a vessel, the boy. We tried to contain it here, we failed. You must do what I couldn't. You must go through." There was a console by the wall, a single red switch labelled Access. I pulled it. The chamber shuddered, the mirror rippled, and I was pulled in. The other side wasn't death, it wasn't hell. It was a fractured version of our world. Skies the colour of rust, trees like bones, buildings floating, crumbling in mid-air. And in the centre, a black cathedral made entirely of glass. I walked. Hours, maybe days. Time meant nothing here. Inside the cathedral, I found the boy. Alone. He didn't speak. He couldn't. But he reached into my mind, and I saw. He was a child of the Archivists, chosen, infused with the mirror's essence, a failsafe. If the mirrors were ever destroyed, he would be the anchor, a living shard, the final lock, and only I could set him free. I held Eleanor's journal. The words glowed. Give the child a name. I didn't understand, but then I remembered. Eleanor had no name when she was bound. That was the ritual. No name, no identity, no soul. I knelt, took the boy's hand, looked into his eyes, and I said, "You are Samuel." The cathedral screamed, the glass cracked, light flooded everything, and then nothing. I woke up on the lake shore outside Ashmark. The facility was gone, not destroyed, just vanished. The journal was in my lap, its pages now blank, and beside me a boy, no stitches, no glow, just a child. He looked at me. "My name is Samuel," he said. I nodded. The chain was broken. But even now, as I tell you this story, I keep every mirror in my house covered. Because some nights, when the lights go out, I swear I still see the cathedral, waiting